Black History on Wish TV. Presented by Indiana Funeral Care, INHP, and Heaven on Earth.
Over the decades, Indiana Avenue has gotten many nicknames. The Yellow Brick Road, Funky Broadway, the Grand Old Street.
But as News 8's Alexis Rogers reports, its simplest name is the one that has survived, the Avenue.
It's well known that here on Indiana Avenue is the home of Black life and culture, especially within the first half of the 20th century. But it's the recipe of its rise and its fall that lets us know what the future may look like. Every era has a beat, a feeling, a movement.
Jazz music.
Indiana Avenue's pulse
That's what it's known for, a legacy.
was blocks of life. What Wildstyle Pichelle and Rob Dixon have learned to be vibrantly Black and colorful life.
The icons of the music and you know, how much of an influence Indianapolis has had on the world. I think we have as much bragging rights as New Orleans as far as shaping the jazz.
The notes that spilled into these streets consisted of dozens of clubs, shops, restaurants, doctors' offices. This was the score of Black life in Indianapolis during segregation.
I believe opening night of this theater, I would have wanted to been there and seen that and go across the canal and just see the other businesses and clubs and peoples doing their thing.
Just going to the Avenue like on a Friday night, you know, maybe going out to eat at a restaurant, going to watch the Hampton family or the Hampton sisters perform, you know, checking out just being able to go up and down the Avenue.
This was the kind of scene that made you crave a front row seat.
Indianapolis at a certain time was known as probably one of the most cosmopolitan transient cities, probably next to New York City. So, and that had a lot to do with Indiana Avenue.
It wasn't just about jazz here.
Excellence on all fronts.
It was the ripple of opportunity that refined this tune.
Crispus Attucks had probably the most PhD teachers teaching at that school, and I just think when you have PhDs and African Americans afforded opportunities educationally and otherwise, it just is a recipe for success.
I mean, I think it was a type of sense of pride. I think we're sitting in here in Madam Walker's theater.
The reason why the theater was built in the first place is because Madam had went to another theater and was charged an additional 15-cent Black tax and refused to pay it.
She comes here and becomes a millionaire within 10 years. Then her and her daughter go on to fund the Harlem Renaissance.
Would you all say that Indiana Avenue has a rhythm to it?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody had a space down here, whether they agreed with you or not, there was a space down here on the Avenue.
What are the things that you think are not often talked about when it comes to Indiana Avenue?
There was great debate about them having drag shows, huge drag shows that attracted hundreds and hundreds of people. And they were, you know, there was like, mind your own business, and other people like, this is terrible, this is unconscionable, we can't have this going on.
The pictures etched in the minds of many have multiple truths to them.
It was not much different than Black neighborhoods today. It's just that we recognize the beauty in it 170 years later.
You also have a lot of people who are heartbroken with what happened to it, you know, in between 1970, 1980 and now. You know, talk to me a little bit about that heartbreak.
It wasn't just about the entertainment. That entertainment and that culture was driven by, because these were people's houses. This was where these parking lots, there was a kitchen, there was bedrooms, you know, there was places where people had their whole lives.
Of course, you know, there was other things like economic development, but racism played a part into like actually dismantling and disenfranchising a lot of African Americans here in Indianapolis, particularly on Indiana Avenue.
And when, with the highway, with the redevelopment and definitely IUPUI, when they wanted space, they came and got it from over here and really displaced, you know, thousands and thousands of people during really starting in the late 50s and kind of ended in the 80s. And so that's what stopped the avenue.
The avenue is kept alive through sharing time and stories.
Thanks, man.
Wildstyle makes sure students see themselves in this legacy.
It's overwhelming. I think the type of interest that they have and the type of questions, like very nuanced questions, that they are really searching for more legacy about Black history and Black culture.
While the Indiana Avenue that once was is no more, Dixon and Wildstyle
I think we can have kind of a rebirth.
believe the city has the ingredients to create something great again if those with influence open their eyes.
Not exactly what was, it'll be something completely different.
We also have that going on in neighborhoods today, and it needs to be supported and nurtured in a way that it was somewhat allowed on Indiana Avenue.
Because what we lost
So that maybe 70 years from now, hopefully those neighborhoods are still thriving.
could be revived because the rhythm of Indiana Avenue
And we have something to talk about on the legacy that it left for the city of Indianapolis.
is still there. So much to be proud of here. Dixon thinks that there should be a mandatory class about Indiana Avenue that every student in the state has to take. That way the legacy continues to grow and everyone can see themselves in it. Alexis Rogers, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.